Welcome to Creatively Exposed, a podcast and safe space for Black and marginalized creatives to empower, educate, and uplift you through the final product of self and creation. Bring a homie, share with a homie, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Creatively Exposed, and if you're new here, this is a podcast rehumanizing the creative one episode at a time. And so I'm gonna stick with it, y'all. If you ain't new here, let me know your thoughts, even though y'all be silent listeners, which I still love y'all. Last week, no episode. Life is crazy right now. There's a lot of different things going on. But happy May, happy Nurturers Day, Mother's Day. And if we want to be a little bit petty, shout out to the people who have raised other people that they probably had no business raising. Elder daughters, people that you've dated, all the things. I'm on a petty streak, so sorry. Overall, my biggest thought, it's the breakthroughs for me when it comes to therapy. And so I've been thinking a lot about, my consistent question is like, am I doing enough, right? And so it's figuring out how to surrender, but like surrender can be so abstract as well. When I think of surrender, I think of the idea of just like jumping off the cliff and kind of opening up my arms and thinking, yo, I got wings. And so, my spirit team, everybody has not allowed me to fail, right? I could fall and bust my ass a couple of times, like that's part of life, but like I never have not been supported enough to get back up. And so I enjoy living my life audaciously. That was the mini-sode that I released 2 weeks ago, just really questioning. And so when discussing certain things in therapy, we fell on the topic of flow. And this is why people have the degrees and are therapists, and I just, a Black woman therapist, a Latinx therapist, because I got two, just does it for me. And so this was my art therapist, and I had a lot of feelings, but I didn't have words for all the feelings, and we fell on flow. And she said, check the perception shift, okay? Sometimes we think of flow and it's like a slow breeze or just kind of being in the water and letting it take, like the serene shit, and like, let's be 100, right? Like, let's keep it all the way 1,000. Sometimes it's hard to flow. It's hard to flow. So what if we shifted the idea of what flow is, right? And so my therapist said, sometimes we think of flow and it's soft, gentle, whatever. But like flow is to whatever beat you feel the flow is. And I'm like, yo, that just unlocks something for me, because I'm like, my flow isn't as serene. Sometimes my flow looks chaotic, or it feels chaotic, or what have you. So it isn't always chill. I even took notes, okay? So it isn't only chill or calm. It can be, like, when I think of flow, I think of flowing like Megan Thee Stallion freestyling on a beat, right? And if the beat live, you know, little juke mate, like that's the energy. That's the energy. Like there are moments that I'm like boom, 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 boom. And so I'm like, all right, this is my flow, right? And I'm like, I think I've been questioning, is my flow what flow is supposed to be? I've had like a lot of big ass like life questions of like, am I doing life right? And it's like, to whose standards? To whose standards? And so if we do things to the beat of our own drum, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not heading the right way, because you're doing it your way. You're doing it the aligned way. You're doing it the way that your spirit is telling you, right? And so I just thought that was so profound. And so I think of it's so great how things fall whatever, full circle. I'm having issues with words. I'm gonna blame it on Mercury in the retrograde shadow in Gemini. Anyway, for those who don't know what that is, Mercury and Gemini, like, it's at home in the sign of Gemini because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So when you have this double negative, it's not exactly a negative, but like when things are made to be re-reviewed, it's basically saying slow the fuck down. And it's hard when you have 900 million different ideas in your brain. It's hard, at least for me, to be not even quick on my feet. I think I'm usually quick on my feet to the point that double checking is missed. And so retrogrades really is like slow down just so you can process everything and then move forward. So basically I just need to slow down my thoughts with my words. But overall, what if, and this is my own homework that I'm gonna do for myself, but like, if you think of flow, of rhythm, right? My therapist also mentioned, shout out to Black women, the thought of like, but we flow, like we be two-stepping, we be dancing on beat, like rhythm. Flow is also rhythm. If we think of flow, it's also like riding a beat, right? And so that looks so different to us. It can be physical flow. Decolonize the way that you think about flow. Ain't that lit? I think it's lit. And so if we think about diasporic form of flow, I think of reggae. I think of reggaeton. I think of hip hop. I think of, you already know, I think of Megan Thee Stallion freestyling. I think of salsa. I think of palo. I think of bomba y plena. And so what does your flow really like? What does it look like? So homework, right? And it's mutual. And if y'all want to share it with me, like DM me, hit me up on Twitter on Creatively Exposed. CEX Pod is a Twitter, my bad. Creatively Exposed without the E on Instagram. Create a playlist for your flow. It switches up, it changes, right? Like I really like the thought of Bad Bunny, who I'm gonna go on a tangent on that later. But he tends to have a beat drop midway through the song, and if that ain't life, love it. And so let us talk about Bad Bunny, like Un Verano Sin Ti. If you don't like Bad Bunny, I'm sorry, but not. If you don't know who that is, I don't know what to tell you. Besides that, he's a Boricua, Puerto Rican reggaetonero. And I love him. So, he dropped... I had a hard-ass day last Thursday. And so, when he dropped the album, Un Verano Sin Ti, like... When I say art just brings joy, and sometimes this is the stillness that we need. And so, it goes to my next point. I am obsessed with Benito. We do Benito things over here. So, this is my next note. Stillness isn't always quiet. It can be dance. It can be joy and love and a moment where nothing else matters right now. And your girl has been anxious as fuck. And the thought of stillness combining with flow, right? Like, I think of being in a perreo party, let's say, right? Or being in Juve or Carnival, or just like a compa festival or bal or concert. Anything that movement can be stillness. I think for a long time I have thought about, oh, it has to be silent. It has to be, with a lack of movement. It has to be like I'm meditating. And it's like, nah, fam, you don't got to do all that. This is good as well, right? But my stillness means that I am being fully present. And I'm not worried about tomorrow or what somebody is going to say or none of that. I'm here. Like, my stillness right now is recording this because I'm not thinking about, oh, it's late or whatever. I'm not thinking about anything else besides this. It's a conversation, even though it feels one-sided. But we can decolonize the way that some of this, like, quote-unquote woo-woo stuff or wellness-related or spiritual things can be, right? Like, there is an episode on therapy for Black girls. I gotta find which one it was because I heard a couple back-to-back. I think it's the most recent one, and I really, really loved it. It discusses joy. And so it's the question that Dr. Joy posed was what does joy look like for you? And so the person who wrote a book about it, I really recommend that episode, especially for my like Black folks. Brown folks, y'all can get in there. But like ancestrally, generationally, we have danced, we have laughed, we have found community, and it is a way for us to remove the stress, the sorrow, the grief around and out of our bodies. And so, as annoying as it can be, like, working out is also my kind of stillness, trying not to pass out midway through the workout, or actually like getting that rush when you're doing whatever it is that you're into and you're there and you're not looking around and you're transplanted into right now, which is all we have, right? Like, we get so used to worrying about shit. It just, I guess my mom said it the easiest. Sometimes we overcomplicate our lives. Most times we do. I know I do. And it's just show up, right? Say the things that you want to make happen. to yourself, right? Like, say it to yourself.